Hello Vulkan developers! In this video we're going to learn all about the specialization constants in Vulkan. These constants are basically values that you can plug into your shaders at pipeline creation time after the spir-v code has already been compiled. You can think of them as late-bound compile time constants. This notion doesn't exist in C or C++, but you can find it in C# in the form of the static read-only keywords, which allow you to resolve the variable when the class is loaded for the first time. A similar thing exists in Java when using the static final field, which can be initialized via a method call or a complex expression. In Vulkan, specialization constants let you generate shader variants without actually recompiling the shader source. Let's quickly see how they compare to other ways of passing data into the shaders. First, we have the regular constants. These values are baked directly into the shader object during the compilation process. If you want to change them, you have to recompile the shader and regenerate the spir-v code. They are great for optimizing fixed values and terrible for flexibility. Next we have uniforms. These guys are runtime data, same as the specialization constants. They live in buffers, they provide flexibility, but they don't enable compile time optimizations. And finally, we have push constants. Since we're actually going to learn about them in the next tutorial, I'll just say that push constants are fast and lightweight, but they're still runtime values. The shader can't optimize around them the way it can with compile time constants. The main benefit of specialization constants is that you can ship a single spir-v module for a given shader and generate multiple optimized variants during runtime just by changing the values of the constants. There's no complex shader rebuild pipeline, no extra tooling, and no runtime compilation. Specialization constants allow you to enable or disable shader features such as normal or shadow mapping, or tailor the number of light sources for each specific scene. These are just a couple of examples, and with your imagination, I'm sure you'll come up with many more. So without further ado, let's see how to actually use the specialization constants. In GLSL, we declare a specialization constant using the constant_id layout qualifier. It looks like this. A few points we need to notice. The constant ID value must be a unique integer for each constant. The default value will be used if the application doesn't override it. What happens if you don't specify a default value? Well, in that case, Vulkan expects you to provide a value during the creation of the pipeline object. What happens if you don't do that? In that case, the constant remains undefined, which can lead to failure in pipeline creation in the best case, and unpredictable behavior in the worst case. Bottom line, always provide the default value, unless you commit to providing one during pipeline creation. Also notice that specialization constants must be of scalar type. This means an integer, a floating point, or a boolean. If you want a vector, you will need to create multiple constants, one for each component. In the shader body, you can use the specialization constants just like any other constant, for example, as a for loop range or a condition. During pipeline creation, we can expect Vulkan to unroll those loops or get rid of dead branches once the actual value of the constant is known. That's it for the shader part. Now let's switch to the application code. The Vulkan API gives us a small structure, VkSpecializationInfo, that tells the driver which constant IDs we want to override and what values to use. We'll build this up step by step. First, we define the actual values we want to specialize the shader with. These are the values that will replace the defaults in the shader. Since the mapping to the shader works by specifying offsets inside the buffer, We place these variables in a C++ structure. Next, we specify where these values should go using the SpecializationMapEntry structure. Each such element maps a single constant ID from the shader to a byte offset in our data block. The first parameter is the shader constant ID, the second is the offset into the data buffer, and the third is the size of the value. Notice how we use the offsetOff macro to calculate the offset in bytes from the start of the structure to one of its members. This macro is defined in the following standard headers and is the go-to method for such tasks. After setting up an array of VkSpecializationMapEntry structures, we combined everything into the VkSpecializationInfo. We specify the number of specialization map entry elements, the address of the array of map entries, the size of the actual data block with all the values, and its address. This structure is what Vulkan needs in order to patch the spir-v object during pipeline creation time, which is exactly what happens in the next step. When creating the pipeline object, we have to specify a pipeline shader stage createInfo structure for each active shader stage, and if you've been following this series, then you should have a piece of code like the following. Notice that the structure contains a pointer that we haven't used so far, VkSpecializationInfo. It is of the VkSpecializationInfo type, so naturally, we set it to the address of the structure that we've just populated. The rest of the pipeline creation process is the same. Remember that once the pipeline object is created, the value of the specialization constant is fixed. For multiple values, you have to create multiple pipelines. Now let's see a practical example and the way that I've integrated the constants into my Vulkan framework. Today's demo provides a very simple lighting fragment shader. There's a specialization constant of an unsigned integer type called lighting mode. This shader supports 4 lighting modes: unlit, where only the texture color is rendered without any lighting; normal, for visualizing the normal vectors as colors; ambient only, which is self-explanatory; and full, which includes both the ambient and diffuse components. This is also the default. In the main function, we have a switch statement, which calculates the output color based on the lighting mode in the specialization constant. In a production system, we often want to be able to use the same shader for both debugging and the final release without sacrificing performance for all those debug checks that are redundant in the actual product. Kind of like using if-def-debug in C or C++. In the application code, I created a class called LightingProgram, which provides the interface to this shader. By the way, there is also a vertex shader in this combo, of course, but since it is not special in any way, I'm gonna skip it. The LightingProgram class derives from the graphics pipeline class, which was introduced in the previous video and provides much of the common pipeline creation code that we need. I've created an additional init function in this class. This is important. The original init function took the path to the vertex and fragment shaders as parameters and handled the compilation internally. But when using the specialization constants, we should compile the shaders once and then create multiple pipeline objects according to the number of different constant values that we want to use. The new version of init takes the handles of the 2 shaders, so we have to compile them externally. In addition, it takes 2 pointers to the SpecializationInfo structures, one for each shader stage. These can be null when the shader doesn't include a constant. The implementation of the new init function is very similar to the old one. I extended the createPipeline function to take the 2 new pointers as parameters and put them in the corresponding shader stage createInfo structure. Also notice that the shader object handles are passed as usual to the create function, but they are not saved in the class. Since they are created externally, it is the job of the caller to destroy them. Back to the LightingProgram class, we can see that its init function takes the shader object handles as parameters in addition to the lighting mode. This makes sense because the pipeline object that we are creating here will be specific to a single mode. Before calling the new init function in the base class, we prepare the specialization stuff that we've seen. We have a single map entry where the constant ID is 0, the offset is 0, and the size is of an unsigned 32-bit integer. In the specialization info, the number of map entries is 1, the address of the array is set to the address of the single map entry, the size of the data block is as expected, and the address of the data is simply the address of the lighting mode parameter. When we have a single specialization constant, we don't even have to wrap it in a structure. The rest of the class is as usual. Creation of the descriptor set layout, updating the descriptor set, and etc. Nothing special here. The rationale behind this API design is that specialization constants serve a wide range of use cases. You can have multiple constants of different types, so it is much more straightforward to simply lay out the Vulkan map entries like that, instead of forcing it into some generic wrapper. So the class itself is tailored to a specific shader, which makes it more friendly to the user, but inside the class we set up the info structures and provide their addresses to the base class. The base class doesn't have to understand anything about the specialization info, just where to put the pointers. In the main application code, we create the shaders once and then loop over the number of lighting modes and initialize an array of LightingProgram objects. Each element is initialized using the same shaders and its own lighting mode. During runtime, we can switch between the LightingProgram objects using the GUI. Of course, this also means that we need one command buffer for each pipeline. Once the command buffer is finalized, the pipelines that it uses cannot be changed. And that's it for specialization constants in Vulkan. In the next video, we will take a look at push constants, which are similar, yet different. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.